friends, you're welcome back to another interesting tutorial today. So today we're going to be making this lovely Shefty's dress, and for this start today we're going to be using 3 yards of Mikado silk. This is very simple to make and it is beginner friendly. Okay, so let's get into it. My fabric is folded into two first, like this. Then after that, I'm going to fold it into 4, such that I'm going to have my zip allowance here. Okay, this is an off-shoulder dress. So I'll start by ruling my guideline so that I can have a starting point to work with. So since it's an off-shoulder dress, you can decide how many you want to minus, okay? So, but in my own case, I'm going to be minusing 6. So on this line that I rule, I'm going to place 6 inches on it, and from there I will take down my armhole length. Because it's a sleeveless dress, you don't want it to be too open, so I'm going to use 8 inches for my armhole. Then I will measure my nipple point. My nipple point is 11. Then my underbust is 14 and a half, and I'm going to add ½ inch to that, making 14 and a half. Okay, then I'll roll it. So this is the starting point, then this is the armhole, this is my nipple point, and then my underbust with ½ inch allowance. All right, I will determine the width of my neckline. So you want the strap to sit nicely. So if your shoulder, for example, if your shoulder is 16 divided by 2, that will be 8 inches. Instead of you to measure the 8 inches here, you minus 2.5 from it, and then you put it here. So my shoulder is supposed to be 8 inches. Okay, if I minus 2.5, that will be 5.5. So I'll put 5.5 here, so that the strap can sit nicely. Okay, then here on the chest line, that is your armhole line, you put your bust divided by 4 plus seam allowance. So my bust is 42 divided by 4, that will be 10.5. I'll put 10.5, and I'm going to add my seam allowance. There will be lining, so I'm using 2 inches for the seam allowance. Then on the nipple point line, you leave it as it is. Okay, then you come to your underbust line, you measure your underbust circumference divided by 4. My underbust is 33 divided by 4, that will be 8.25. So I'll measure 8.25 here. Then I'm going to have 1 inch for the dart. There will be that. Then 2 inches allowance. Then I'll connect it together. Can you see the way it is? Okay, so you determine the depth of the neckline. So let's say I'm doing 1.5 for the depth of my neckline. It's going to be here. So I'll connect it together. It's going to be a round neckline. Can you see? On your nipple point line, you measure your nipple to nipple distance divided by 2. My nipple to nipple distance is 8 inches divided by 2. That will be 4. Measure the 4 and you roll it down to your underbust. We put 1 inch dart, so you're going to share the dart ½ inch on both sides of this line. Don't forget this dart is stopping 1 inch before you get to the nipple point line when you're sewing it. Okay, so just let's do it this way. Can you see? This is how it is. So the next thing we are going to do now is to bring out the shape. It's having like one shape. So from the waistline, I'm just going to go up by 2.5 inches, 2.5, and I'm going to connect it back to the side seam this way. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do now You know, we have not put our waistline. I just do this so that we will not be confused. Okay, so go back to the beginning. You measure down your waist length. So my waist length is 17. Then I'm going to roll it. Can you see? From these 17 inches, I'm going to come down. I'll come down by 3 inches. So on the waistline, you put the waist circumference divided by 4. So that will be 8 inches. We'll put your seam allowance of 2 inches. Can you see? Then you connect it back this way. Can you see the way it is? Go ahead, I'll cut it out now. But the back is going to be on the waistline. So by the time we are done cutting this out, we are going to reshape the back to exactly your waist length. All this cutting will not be at the back. Hope it's clear. So let me go ahead and cut it. So I'm cutting the first two. Can you see? So don't forget to transfer your waistline shock to the back. Then you can roll it. Okay, so this is how it is. So when you take this off, this is what you have. So you can go ahead now and continue cutting. So this is how it's looking. Okay, so for the back, we are not done yet. We are going to put our zip allowance. For the zip allowance, I'm going to use 1.5 inch, 1.5 for my zip allowance. So to prevent zip bulging, you go in from the zip allowance here by 3/4 inch, and you're going to blend it back to the top. Can you see? So the back is not ready yet because we need to reduce the back by 1/2 inch. Okay, so remove this, measure 1/2 inch upwards this way, and then you cut it off from the back. So this is it. Your zip allowance is 1.5. Then the waist circumference is 8 inches. Then we have 2 inches seam allowance, 2 inches seam allowance. So meaning there's no more dart at the back. Okay, there's no dart at the back. Okay, so if you open up the back, this is how it's looking. This is how the back is looking. So keep the back aside. We are done with it for now. Then this is the front. This is the front. We still have a little bit of that to take care of here. Notch the dots here on this upper part. You're left with this much of that, and it's stopping here when you're sewing it. Okay, then this, there's no dart. You remember we did not put that on our waistline. We did not put that. Okay, so there's no more that. You're not doing anything to this. You're going to just cut this piece exactly the way it is, like this. All right, so you go ahead, you cut lining for each of them. Going to cut lining for each of them. Okay, so I've cut out lining for it. Then the next thing is for you to cut out that thing that is going to be gathered here. So this is of the overall look. Okay, so don't forget there's something that was gathered around the underbust here, like this. Okay, for that you need to determine the length that you want it to be. The length is slightly above the strap because we cannot see the strap. So let's say it's 2 inches higher than the strap, so you measure to this point. So altogether here I have 10.5. So the length of going to be 10.5. I was splitted here. You're supposed to fold your fabric like this into two, then you now measure that 10.5 that we got. If I should do that, my fabric, see, there will be shortage here, my fabric will not be enough. Okay, so you're supposed to do it so that here you just be unfold like this, there will be no joining, but mine will have joining now because I don't have, I'm just using 3 yards. Okay, it's supposed to be unfold at the upper part, but this will not be unfold at the upper part as it is now. This is okay. So this fabric is folded into two. If you have your way, let this place be unfold. Okay, then the length will be 10.5. That is what we measure from the cotton. 10.5, 10.5, 10.5. Okay, so because I'm going to be having joining here, so I'm supposed to make my own to be 11. That is 10.5 with half inch for allowance. So when I'm cutting, I'll just shift my hand so that I'll add half inch to what I have. Okay, so as for the width, just use your underbust measurement, whatever it is, that's what you are going to use to cut it out. So my underbust is 33, so this is 33, and because you know we are going to be sewing it on both ends, so I'm going to make it to be half one, that's 35. So I'm making the strip to be 35. Okay, 35 inches. So I'll go ahead, I'll cut it out now. Okay, so now I'll take to my machine, I'll sew here because mine is not on fold now. Then I'll also sew this outer edge here and here. Okay, then you leave this place open like this so that you can gather it. Okay, gather it. So let's keep this one aside. Next we are going to cut out the strap. So just your strap is going to be twice what you minus. So I minus 6, so 6 times 2, that will be 12. So the length of the strap is going to be 12. It's going to be 12. Then the width will be 1.5. 1.5. That, okay. So this is going to be the strap. The length is 12, exactly 12, and then the width is 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, because we're going to be creating strap with it. Create strap with it like this. If you don't want a tiny strap, you can increase it, okay? So this is how it is. We have our strap here. Can you see? Then we have our flea. Okay, so the last thing now is just to cut the flay. As for the flay, we are going to be cutting it like 180-degree peplum. So you are going to fold your fabric into two. Fold your fabric into two. Then after that, you are going to fold it over diagonally like this into four, just like a triangle. Okay. Okay, because there's gather around the waist circumference, so you are going to multiply your waist circumference by 2 before you now divide it by 3.14. Okay, so my waist circumference is 32. 32 times 2, because there's gather around the waist circumference, times 2, that is going to be 64. Then I will add my zip allowance of 2 inches plus 2 inches. That's going to be 66. So I'm going to divide this 66 by 3.14. That's the formula for getting the radius for an half circle. Okay, so altogether here I have 21. Okay, so I'll rotate 21 inches first. 21, 21. This is 21. Then next, you measure down the remaining length of your gown. I want my total gown length to be 42 inches. Okay, 42 inches. So my waist length is 17, right? So I'll place that 17 on this line, and then I'll measure down that 42, with my 1 inch allowance, so that's 43. Okay, and this is what I have here. So I'll go back to the tip of the triangle. I'll measure down to this length that I have here, and I'm going to rotate my result. So over here I have exactly 48 inches, so I'm going to rotate 48 inches. Then I'm going to go ahead, I'll connect the points and then cut it out. Then I'm going to cut this out. I'm done. So you are going to gather this to the circumference of the waistline. Okay, you gather this to the circumference of the waistline. So you keep this aside. So this thing that I cut off from the waist circumference, I'm just going to use it to form small sleeve, small flare sleeve. I don't want it to be too big, so I'll measure 7. So that I can be able to wear it to church. So I'm just going to use this to make like a detachable sleeve. Yeah, so it will just be like a detachable sleeve around the hand. So this is how it is. We have our strap here. Can you see? Then we have our flea. All right. So I'll show you what I'm going to do next. Start by finishing this thing that is going. So this thing that we cut out is just going to be here, in between here like this. Can you see? It's going to be in between here. So first off now, I will go and sew in the dart. When I finish sewing the dart, I will also finish this one the way I've explained. I will stitch here, then the two sides. Then I'll come and show us. So let's just go to the sewing machine. So I'm going to join this together. So can you see I'm done? So the next thing, you just turn it to the good side. So in your own case, assuming you cut this place on fold, that means you are only going to be sewing here and here. Okay. And I'll keep it aside. Okay. Next, bring the upper part. Just the way I have explained, you're going to sew in your dart. The dart is very, very small, but you sew it anyways. I don't want us to cut it off. So I've sewn in my dart. You can see that it's automatically having shape. Can you see? So that your breast will sit right inside it very well. So don't ignore the dart, okay? That is just for it to have shape. So in the dart on the lining as well. So can you see? So the next thing you have to do now, I will go and iron this one. Then we'll gather this to the circumference. Okay. So let me just sew the mouth of this one together. I've quickly ironed this. So the next thing is for you to run your gather stitch so that you can pull your gather. So this one, I've run gather stitch on it on the machine. So you are going to pull your gather to the circumference of this place. And don't forget that we have our seam allowance here. So you put the gather to the circumference minus your seam allowance. We added our seam allowance. You can see the shock for the seam allowance here. So from the seam allowance, that's where to the other one, that's where the gather will be. Your gather will not enter into your allowance. Okay. So so now I've gathered it. So you just place it here. You start stitching away from your seam allowance like this till you get back to the other seam allowance. Don't allow this gathered part to enter inside your seam allowance. But if you want more fullness for this, you can always increase the width that you have. Instead of using your underbust circumference with the allowance, just make it your underbust plus maybe half of the underbust. Okay. So I'll just go and stitch this on the machine now. Don't allow it to enter inside your seam allowance at all. So this is how it's looking. Go ahead now I'll, you see, this is my seam allowance. Move it away from your seam allowance like this. Or just stop stitch on it, just to keep it together. Do the same thing here, like this. See my seam allowance here. Don't do it all the way to this point. You can just, you know, we are still going to be finishing here. If you like, so if you can tag it at some point, just tag it down so that it's never gonna shift. Okay, so keep this aside. Let's work on the strap. So as for the strap, I'm just gonna do it like this. So that you sew it and use your loop turner to turn it to the good side, or you just sew it like this. Can you see? Okay, so next you fix the strap. Before you place your strap, make sure you leave ½ inch here, because you know you're still going to be turning here with the lining. Okay, so just do it this way. Leave your ½ inch and then stitch the strap. Access it nicely. Leave ½ inch because you're still going to be sewing it there also. So you're going to go ahead, you will join this to this, then you join lining to lining as well. Okay, lining to lining. I've notched it. Okay, so it's just going to be like this. You can locate the center to center before you start. Then you sew to the left and you sew to the right, or you can use your hand to just run through it like this so that you can start. So after joining it, this is how it's looking. Don't forget to notch so that you can relax well. Notch around the cuffed area. So repeat the same step on the lining. I've joined the lining also. So just place the lining on top of it. Let it be right side to right side, pushing this, push this one downward, and also push the strap downward so that you can use your lining to turn it. You start from one armhole, from the armhole like this, round, and then back to the other side. All right, make sure you push your strap inside, push everything downward. Okay, don't forget to notch the neck area so that you can relax. Okay, so the next thing you have to do now is to attach the back to it. And this is the good side of the back that is facing right up, and this is the good side of the front. As you can see, ensure your strap is not twisting. Make sure it's not twisting. Okay, so take this, place it on top of the right of the strap, so it's going to be right side to right side, and so you pin it. Can you see? Place it on top, right side facing right side, and you pin. Then you go and stitch the strap. Then we'll use lining to turn it as well. So when you're stitching it down, ensure you leave your ½ inch allowance where you'll be using lining to turn later, just the way we did when we were doing the front. Use lining to turn the neck area as well as the armhole side. Okay, so the next thing now is just to close the side. So you close the side with your measurement. So we added 2 inches allowance. So you're going to close the side with the 2 inches, but take note of the way I'm going to close the side. You see, push this thing, push it inward so that you can be able to access the armhole. See it like this. Match the two armhole together such that you'll be able to close the side, lining to lining and fabric to fabric like this. Okay. Okay, so you close the side. You do the same thing to the second side. So I'm closing the side with 2 inches. So do the same thing to the second side. It is, can you see? So you turn it to the good side. By the time you turn it, it's going to be like this. So after turning it, this is what it is. So you can keep this aside now so that you can work on the gathered parts. This is the zipper side and this is the center front. This is the center front. So on the center front, you are going to come down here by 2.5 inches. Please measure it. You, on the center front, you come down by 2.5 inches, exactly 2.5 inches. And then locate the middle of the flare here. Locate the midway of the flare. This is 35. The midway will be here. Can you see? This is the midway. And don't forget, this is unfold. This is unfold. This is the center back right here. This is the center front. From the center front, you come down by 2.5. Locate the midway. Then you take off, connect it this way. We're going to be cutting this part off. All right, we're going to be cutting it off. Can you see? Cut it off. Make sure you blend it. Okay, so you now go and create gather on this part. Create gather. I notch that center. I notch the center so that it can align with the center joining for the upper bodice. So you may want to cut your lining also exactly like this, or what I'll just do, I'll just like create a gather around that place. I don't need to cut it like a circle. So I'm just cutting my lining like a rectangle. This is 1 yard of lining. I'll join it together at the center now. I just join it together at the center so that it can be a very long rectangle. Then I'll place it around. I'll place it around the circumference later. First off, I'm aiming the lower part. So I'm done aiming the lower part. So the next thing I just to create gathers. Make sure you pull your gather to your waist circumference together with the zip allowance. Okay, so the next thing now is to attach the lower part to it. This is the lower part. You ensure you gather it to the circumference of the upper part, okay? Ensure you gather it to the circumference of the upper part, like so. And don't forget, it's going to be fabric to fabric, okay? The way we position it, put it on top of it, right side facing right side. You're going to be stitching it together to the fabric alone for the upper part, okay? Only the fabric alone. Then the part that we cut out that we are going to be putting on the lining, this is it. You're going to pleat it around the circumference of the lining as well. So we are going to be doing this on the machine. Ensure the place that you notch for the side seam is jiving with the side seam, okay? This is my notching for the side seam. You ensure it's jiving with it, like so. Then all around the front and then the side. So I'll go and do it now on the machine. Okay, so that is it. So the next thing now is to turn the center back with the lining. So just do it like this. Can you see? So that you can stitch here together all the way down. And then from the good side, this is it. Okay, so the next thing is just to close the center back. You close the center back and then you attach your zipper. So from the waistline, I'll just measure down 9 inches. 9 inches from the waistline. And then from there, I'll close with my zip allowance all the way down, okay? Make sure you confirm your measurement before you close. Because of the way we close it now, it's more like invisible closing. So to avoid it not being tight, you just take your measurement. And if it's not up to your measurement, it's easy to adjust. Just go back inside your lining. You see our allowance right here. You lose the gathered part of it. Then you adjust it according to your size. Then you adjust the gathers and sew it back, okay? But if you follow the measurements, I don't think you will have any problem with it. But in case maybe later in the future you grow bigger or you grow smaller, you can easily adjust it. Okay, so I'm going to close the center back now and I will fix the zipper. That's the last thing. Okay, so my zip allowance is remaining 1. As for the detachable sleeve, I pipe the upper part with bias, just like this. Then after that, I turn the bias to the wrong side and top stitch. This is just to use it to create elastic casing. Then I hem the down part. So I'm just hemming the down part of the sleeve. I just hem it once, just to hem the down part. Then okay, so the next thing I insert elastic But I first
elastic
wrap the
that
elastic
will
round
match my upper
my
arm
upper arm to be
circumference.
sure
Don't forget to
I'm cutting
put
the
your
right size
allowance.
that
If you don't
will
want it to be
fit
too
me.
tight,
You can see the way I've done
you
it.
can make it
Okay,
snug.
so I'm going to go ahead. I'll cut two, one for each of the sleeve. Then I'm going to insert the elastic inside the elastic channel that I
Size, and
created
you're
with
going
the
to sew the sides
bias.
in.
Okay,
Okay, sew it close
then after that you just go ahead and close
with
the side
half
of the
inch.
sleeve, and that's it. This is detachable sleeve is ready.
I love you. If you're new to the channel, please kindly take a moment to subscribe if you have not subscribed. And always make sure you click the notification bell so that you can be notified anytime I upload a new tutorial. Thanks for watching today. I'll see you next time. Bye. I love you. I'm not even getting that. For real, I'm not going. So because of that dance that we put in, you can see he's kind of packing my breath. Like look at he's sitting well, sitting pretty, Just love the vibe he's giving. This is so cute. Chic. Alright! Okay, I'm going to just say I have to put this that it doesn't look there too much. So it's just gonna see the sleeve. There's no sleeve there. And I know there is no sleeve. Let's take it.